One of our favorite people here right now. Maria Bello is with us. She has a new book. We'll talk about that in a moment. But she's also starring in a new movie called Bravetown. So why don't we look at a clip?
Mr. Harvest, this court has decided you will have to submit to professional counseling. Failure to comply will result in your arrest. Given that you are still a minor, your father has agreed to look after you. Is that understood?
Yes, Your Honor.
What happened with your mother back home?
You want to hear about selfish? I didn't even want to have you.
I always knew I didn't matter to her. Josh, it isn't your fault. You gotta understand that, man.
So it's a comedy.
Yes, exactly.
Tell us a little bit about that.
It's a beautiful movie about a small town and a guy who comes to a small town, this young boy who's had a horrible childhood, me being his mother. We were talking about being the perfect mother earlier, yes, so she is definitely not a perfect mother, and how he helps to transform this town with his musical abilities.
And does your character transform as well, or you just stay miserable?
No,
stay miserable?
I'm in flashbacks. I'm pretty.
You're in flashbacks.
Pretty horrible mom.
Pretty soon, most of us are in flashbacks. You know how that works in life. All right, now. Let's get to the book.
The book, I loved this. And what was fun about it was that I was able to skip through chapters. I saw the one about being the perfect mom. I went to that one first after I read the initial chapters. But this book came about, and the title, Whatever Love is Love, because it's something your son said to you, right?
That's right. I have been so blessed to have so many teachers in my lives that have taught me about family and partnership and labels that we give ourselves and others. And this book started when I told my son a couple of years ago that I had fallen in love with someone who was like a godmother to him. And when I told him that, his face lit up and he simply said, "Whatever, Mom, love is love."
And that for you was cleansing, wasn't it?
Yes, and it was, and it opened up a whole world of new questions for me.
Go through some of them. The questions we ask are?
The questions we asked ourselves. What was incredible is that what a larger conversation it opened. I had no idea printing this article that so many, 273,000 people wrote the first day to say, I'm a whatever, I have a whatever family, I have a whatever partnership. So some of my questions are, am I a partner? Oftentimes you ask someone, do you have a partner? And all they think about is the person they're having a romantic relationship with, right? Or your business partner. They don't think that you can have many sorts of different people, partners
in your life, there was an old priest with whom you think you never would have had that kind of friendship. There was a famous old executive in Hollywood, and these were partners too. They weren't sexual partners, but they were partners.
Exactly. How about the people, you know, for instance, the Father Ray, who I told you about, who my son is named after, Father Ray Jackson. I spent every minute with him at university. He was my only friend. We had lunch together every day. He was the one whose shoulder I cried on. He was the one who helped me to become who I am. So should I put him over here in another category, right? What's his label? His label to me is partner.
And he's also part of the question, am I Catholic?
That's right. Which is a very big question for me, you know, considering that I don't, you know, I don't accept some of the doctrine of the Catholic Church, but I have learned to reclaim my Catholicism. Part of it has to do with this new Pope and his, you know, his idea of inclusiveness and focusing on poverty and peace. Ideas that I really believe in and things I want to teach my son. You talk a lot in the book about the relationships and the adrenaline from it and the chase and then the fights and all of that, and then you get down to the point when you make this announcement and you tell your son and you write the article and about your life.
You wrote an op-ed in the LA Times that got a huge reaction.
Huge reaction.
About who you are.
Who you are. Yeah. You wondered if that would affect your life here in Hollywood.
Yeah, it's been overwhelming, this sense of community, and as I said, the larger conversation that it started. People are finding these labels that we have, the traditional labels, limiting, and they want new labels. They want labels that empower them as opposed to labels that hold them down. You know, we need labels that help us to expand and be the best that we can be and embrace that.
And since you've done all this, you just received an award not too long ago. We have a little clip of that, and I really liked what you said, because this was the Human Rights Coalition. Yeah.
In some ways, I wish I wasn't standing up here. I wish that that one day the labels that discriminate against people will be a thing of the past, and we will not have to fight for the permission to love who we love.
You know, labels, I'm thinking as I read your book and as I'm talking to you about labels, labels are very limiting, but labels are also very comforting.
Labels can be comforting.
We want to know where we belong, how we fit. We're comfortable to say, I am this, I'm a father, or I'm a talk show host, I'm comfortable with those things, but we're all more than that.
Steve, you're absolutely right. And in the end, I say that the only labels you should have are the ones you give yourself. What empowers you? Does it empower you to give yourself a label that makes you feel a part of a community? Mm-hmm. What is that? You know, Facebook last year added 50 new gender orientation identities besides male and female. And I'm looking through them like agender, binary, cisgender. Mm-hmm. By the way, I'm cisgender and you probably are too. CIS gender. Look it up in the dictionary.
I got you.
Look it up.
Okay. Well, okay. That's what I tell my kids, by the way.
Most of us are cisgender.
Yes.
But you know, I must be 15 of them. So. Yeah. You know, so what labels empower you?
You know, what's interesting is that through the years, as your career was working and people only knew you superficially, nobody would have thought of this is a person with anger and depression and all of that.
Rage.
You know, people probably, a lot of people wanted to be you, watching you at a distance.
It's interesting, and I've never tried to hide parts of myself. You know, when I talk about in the book being diagnosed with bipolar disorder many years ago, it's like if someone had asked me, you know, I would have told them, but no one's asked me about my thyroid disease either in all these years. Mm-hmm. I mean, who would think about asking that sort of thing?
Well, but your thyroid disease wouldn't get in the way of your behavior necessarily. Bipolar does. You can't help it.
Well, actually, that's not true.
Okay.
I mean, that's interesting, but I hadn't thought about it. I mean, I've talked about this before, but that's not true. Because when you have a thyroid disorder, it causes depression, blah, blah. But that's besides the point.
Yeah, okay.
That's besides the point.
By the way, I work with two people who've just recently undergone thyroid surgery.
Oh, is that right?
So I'm a little used to, especially him.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a nightmare. Never mind. He's watching right now.
But the idea is to you know, take the shame away from those labels. And thank God, when I was diagnosed, a very kind doctor said to me, when you're nearsighted, you need glasses to see.
Yeah.
And that's what medicine does. And people out there can get that sort of help, and then it turns into a gift.
By the way, did all this revelation hurt your career?
Oh, I'm so fortunate that it has only expanded who I am and in the world and in the public and
still doing
in
your
my
charity
community and
all the work.
And now you feel like you're living your life in a really honest way, right?
When
you're not hiding, things are different.
But it was about asking questions.
Yes. By the way, how about the irony that Barney Frank was here?
I know, what an amazing, interesting.
Did you guys get
man.
to talk
You got the book, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got the book. I can't wait to read it. We just chatted outside, and what an interesting man.
Well, thank you for coming to talk with us. And if people want to come listen to you talk about your book, you're going to be on stage at the LA Times Festival of Books tomorrow morning. That's at 11. And then you'll be with Cameron Manheim for a live talk at the Aero Theater in Santa Monica on Tuesday, May 5th. So a lot about the book. It's beautiful. Again, the chapter about Am I a Good Enough Mom? Probably one of my favorites. For that
so
alone.
glad you liked
Nothing
it.
you ever worry about, right?
Believe me.
Thank you, Marissa.
Thank you so much.
So good to see you.